All right, everybody. Welcome back. I am joined by the one and only Miss Danielle Anatra. Danielle, welcome back to the show. You did a great one last time, and I expect nothing less from this one. How are you today?
No pressure, Casey. My God. I'm excited to be back. I've been having such a good time with this. It's fun.
Well, you're good at it, and I believe that we were talking about the misconceptions
Yes.
of
Yes.
which was really interesting because there are a bunch, and you kind of gave us a lot of knowledge on that. So I thought that was a fun show. This one right here, what we're going to be talking about is kind of about what you learned when you were learning how to do readings. Talking about how your intuition, you got in touch with your intuition, and personally what you gained in both ways from the mentorship, and doing the readings. But before we get there, can you give people kind of a refresher in case they haven't heard your show before, a little bit about what you do and
Sure.
so on?
Sure. So I'm a medium. I connect to people who have crossed over, and you could bring a lot of healing to people that way. I do psychic readings, and I also mentor people in mindset, mediumship development, and psychic development.
Gotcha. Now, just before we start, is my dad in back of me? Is he here somewhere?
Most
Is he
likely.
pointing his finger at me or something?
I'll let you know if I
If
feel
he comes
anything.
through, if you see a 300-pound man who has two emotions, silence and rage, as De Niro said, then you'll know who it is.
That's a great combination. I'm sure it was lovely.
Right. Well, Danielle, tell me about just so the people can wrap their head around this. This wasn't something that, as a little girl, you're like, this is what I'm gonna do. This gift came a little bit later in life, didn't it?
Yes. Well, it's something that I've always had, but I didn't wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I want to be a medium." I
Right.
never really considered that I was one. But then, later in life, when more things started to happen, really condensing the story, when a lot more things started to happen and I couldn't ignore it anymore, that's when I really started learning more about it and realizing that I've been doing it forever, but it's just so natural that it just feels like a natural gift. So a lot of people might think something's going on because they feel something every now and then, but they don't think it's anything crazy or anything special. And then they learn more about it and they realize, like, oh wow, like I have a lot of these experiences. I have a lot of things. Like, the biggest thing for me when I was learning was that spirit speaks to you. They could speak in different voices, but they speak to you in your own voice, so it can come across like a thought. So you might think that you're thinking something, but in reality, it's guidance from your higher self, or a guide or something like that. So
That
that
must
was a
be
really big
confusing.
game changer.
It must be confusing.
Once you learn how to differentiate it, it's not.
I see.
But at first, yeah, I thought I just had random thoughts coming through to me all the time, and I didn't realize, oh wow, this is guidance. And a lot of times I feel myself arguing with my higher self, because I'm like one day I was dropping the kids off at my grandmother's house, and I pull in the driveway and I heard, bring your phone, but I was running late for a doctor's appointment, and I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, I don't need my phone. I'm not even going in the house. I'm just kind of like, throwing them in and going. So she met me on the porch and she said to me, she's like, "Oh, Danielle, are you free on this day?" And I'm like, let me go get my phone, because my calendar's in there. So I had to end up going back. So it's like little subtle things like that that sometimes I don't even catch because I just, I'm busy.
Gotcha. Well, today's program is kind of like a personal one, and there's a lot of different components to it. So I'm going to give it to you and let you introduce kind of what today's is going to be about.
Okay, so I learned a lot of things along my journey. So for people out there experiencing spirit or thinking they're experiencing spirit and trying to learn, everyone's always focusing on learning the trade and trying to get better and better and better at what they're doing. And practice when it comes to this is important, because it also practice widens your frame of reference, so you can get kind of more details, and you learn to work with spirit a little bit better. Like if you've been working with someone for a really long time, as opposed to just meeting them, you learn to work well together. and you kind of know what that person's about. Like just from me working with you for a few things, you're like, all right, this girl talks a lot. I better keep my questions to a minimum if we want to get on time. So you kind of know that about me already because you worked with me. But the first show, you were probably like, holy crap,
No,
so
no.
so it's like you learn things, you learn things about people, and it's the same thing with spirit. You try to learn, with them. So when I worked with one of my mentors, Brad Frazensky, he was wonderful, and he was trying to show me that I had to start going within with myself and learning things about me. And I really didn't want to do that. Like I was just like, I want to be a better person. I don't want to address all these issues that I think has nothing to do with my mediumship or my psychic abilities. I just want to enhance my abilities. But I realized it's so important because, if you're not confident in yourself when you're doing readings, you're not going to grab the information because you're going to question everything that you get and you're not going to deliver the appropriate message. So
you had to
some
face
things
these things that you didn't want to.
right. And you know what? And that's hard for people to
Yeah.
kind of look in
Yeah.
the mirror and admit fault to stuff in their life that they're not ready to look at yet. And, I always thought, I don't really have a lot of stuff that I have to work on, but oh my God, like I do, the list goes on. But,
We all do.
and,
Yeah.
you're always working on stuff. You're always going to work on things. So some things that I worked on that really helped my readings tremendously. I learned to be more in tune with myself. I learned, about who I am, what I want, and what I don't want. I wanted, I learned such super valuable lessons, and I was a really big people pleaser, and I was getting walked on. And I'm no longer a people pleaser anymore because I learned that, I'm important. Like my needs, what I need is super important, and I need to keep those commitments to myself. We keep our commitments to everybody else, but when it comes to us, those are the commitments that we
You were
tend to be
treating
like,
everybody
oh,
else. Yeah. Treating
I'll
everybody
do
else
it
like gold. But
tomorrow.
yeah, I get you.
Right. And in reality, when you do that, it's like you're showing the universe with action that I don't matter. What I need doesn't matter. What this person needs is more, his needs or her needs is more important than my needs.
Mhm.
And it needs to be put first. So as the universe keeps throwing obstacles in your way to help other people because they're more important, right?
Right.
So I had to learn that, my needs are important. I had to learn to kindly say no, or I can do that later. I can't do it right the second when you want me to.
A lot of
I
people
found
have
my
that. A lot of people have that. How did you start to
yeah,
incorporate that into your life?
really easily. Well, I mean, it took time, but I started small. I like to keep things very simple, and I started small, and I started by just doing one thing for myself every day.
Like
Giving
an
myself one
example.
hour. Yeah, like if I wanted to, I wanted to go to the gym, and that's really important. Right now, I go to the gym every day. Like that's very important for my mindset. I do it more for mindset than vanity or anything like that. I leave feeling great. I feel energized for the day, and it's something. If I do nothing else for myself for the rest of the day, I'm okay because I'm in a good headspace. It puts me in a good mindset.
Okay.
Some people, like also something I do for myself. I like to get my nails done every week. I go, and I get my nails done. It just makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it because, oh God, this person's going to look at my nails and
Right.
think, whatever. I do it for
You
me.
just got the
These
confidence.
are, yeah, these are just certain things that I like for me. So everyone's different, but you could start off doing something really small for you. If you like to read books, you know, um, create, like my husband just started, he wanted to start meditating in the morning, and he wanted to read a book at night before he went to bed because we have two kids. We never really have a lot of time, and we're always running around with them. So he makes that point to do that for himself. And that's where the teamwork comes in, so these are just little things that we do to help each other. You have to create that time for yourself.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so that was a really big thing.
Mhm.
I found a lot of strength in myself because we all have strength, but we just have to kind of uncover it. We have all the tools that we need, but we just have to realize them. I didn't realize how strong I was,
In what sense?
emotionally. Emotionally, I didn't realize, like, there's some things that happen in our lives that you're like, how did you make it past that? Like I remember one instance when I had a 9 to 5 job and I was working, and one of the women in my office thought that she was having a heart attack. And I went, oh my God. And there were a couple other women in the office. They go, Danielle, go grab this one person who knows, like, EMT or whatever he was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they tell me to grab this one person. So in my head, I'm looking for this one person. I was the worst person in an emergency because I'd be like, oh my God, I'm walking. And I ran past a fire commissioner, a police officer. I ran past all these people that could have helped because I was
Right.
like looking for this
You
one
tunnel
person.
vision. You were going to go get that
Yeah.
person.
And it was like, I just felt like useless in an emergency. And then I realized that learning more about things that like scare you or things that you're fearful of makes you like, you're not sitting in fear anymore, because now if that something like that happens, you know what to do now,
Okay.
and you know how to handle a situation. So I
Well, what
handle
was the fear in there? Was it that you were not gonna find that person and
right.
it was gonna be, you think it was your
I
fault?
would put it on me. Everything was my fault. Everything was my fault. Like I'd be like, oh, oh, you were late. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. I did, I did what I, like I would always apologize for things that I didn't
That
need to
word didn't have nothing to do
apologize
with you.
for. Yeah, like things I didn't need to apologize for. So, and by saying that all the time, it's like you're owning it. You're taking responsibility for something that
Mhm.
has nothing to do with you,
Yeah, and people
you
around
know?
you can sense that too. Like they could see,
Hmm.
if someone's like, say you, God forbid, you ran into like a narcissist or something like that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, here's I found my prey.
Hmm. Yeah. And people do prey on that knowingly or unknowingly. People prey on that. And, but if you're strong, you know who you are. It's like if someone gets mad at you, you're not going to be offended, because you're going to be like, you're either going to own up to your mistake and say, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Or, if they do feel a certain way about you, I learned that it has a lot to do with them and nothing to do with you. And I'm sorry you feel that way,
Right.
but that wasn't my intention,
Hmm.
and then you kind of let it go and move on. Letting go is
And you
so
don't give it a
important.
second thought. That's done. Now
Mm-mm.
that thing's
Yeah,
done. Let's move on.
right. I let things go extremely easily, because you either have to choose to let it go or not. And, you have to forgive for your own peace a lot. It has nothing to do with anyone else.
Yeah. So Danielle, so far it sounds like when you were learning how to do this, you were learning about self-confidence.
Oh yeah. That was the biggest thing. So that's most of all, I have enough confidence and love for myself now that I completely surrender and trust everything that presents itself to me. My experiences, good or bad, my abilities, just walking through life with that humbled confidence can make such a huge difference in anyone's energy. There's a lot I still need to work on, but I think everybody has those like kind of dips and flows in,
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
energy and what they're doing.
Was there a change in gratitude at all?
Oh my God, I'm so grateful for things that you don't even think of to be in gratitude for. I remember a few years ago, I was really dipping into the gratitude and everything. And I feel like I've always been a naturally grateful person. I've always been very grateful for what I do have. And I wanted to practice it further. And I remember telling my husband, I was like, Joe, I was like, I really want to practice, more gratitude and being grateful for the little things. Like, we have running water. Like, I'm grateful, like I opened my eyes this morning that, we have electricity in the house, we have a roof over our heads, like the little things that you kind of like bypass every day that are just there.
Yeah.
And I woke up one morning and he was like so wonderful. And he, on the light switches, he wrote be grateful, and he taped like a little note to like every light switch in my house. So it's like every time, like, I went into any room and I went to turn on a light, it was like, be grateful. It was,
That's cool.
something there reminding me that, keep it simple, be
Very
grateful for
thoughtful. Yeah.
things. Yeah. So it's very important to, really, be in tune with that and like what's going on around you. It makes you more aware too.
Okay. And you
Make you,
mentioned before about finding all this stuff about yourself that you were able to grab the messages. I think that's how you put it. What did
Mhm.
you mean by that?
You start when you're more in tune with yourself, what you're thinking, and the difference between your thoughts and what spirit's giving you. You could more easily tell the difference between the two. Usually when spirit's giving you information, there's no emotion connected to it. It's like it's balanced. It's not, whether the information's great or not so great. It's like you feel like just even, like in a place of balance with it. So that's really that's really what I mean. It's the stuff that when I'm doing a reading, it's very easy for me to differentiate because I know that I'm putting myself in a place. But when I'm not doing a reading and I'm just going about my everyday life, you're still feeling energy and doing all that stuff. The only difference is you're not reading into somebody else's stuff, and you have to really pay attention to the guidance that way.
Okay. You got some people that want to ask you some questions, and
Sure.
since um, age has made it so I can't read that computer over there, so Mr. Producer is gonna read them from off camera. So, Mr. Producer, what do you got over there for our friend Danielle here?
Okay, we have Beth in Sacramento wants to know, can having mediumship abilities affect the types of dreams you have?
Oh, good question. I want to know that.
That is a good question. Can psychic abilities affect the type of dreams you have? Um, I want to say that it's different for everybody. Because some people don't have well, everyone has dreams, but some people don't remember their dreams. And I actually know some mediums who only do readings through their dreams. Like they'll set
Really?
an intention before they go to sleep, and they'll wake up and they'll have all this whole big reading for somebody.
Wow.
So I feel like I have to say everybody's different. You can set an intention before you go to bed on what you want to learn, because we go to good realms and bad realms when we sleep, and we have no control over it, and we learn while we're sleeping, but we might not wake up realizing that we learned so much, but we do.
Mhm.
So setting intentions before you go to sleep could definitely help you. I can't see why it wouldn't be able to help you with your abilities.
Are,
So
are
yeah, definitely.
are
Mhm.
dreams important for people in your line of work to keep a notebook next to you? Should you remember your dreams? Do you get anything? Maybe you worked with a client and something comes to you that night. Does anything like that ever happen?
Again, it's different for everybody and the
Okay.
types of boundaries that you set up with spirit. When I was learning, I would always sleep with a notebook next to my bed. So if I did wake up and I wanted to remember something, I would write it down, and I would kind of have to translate it for myself. Some people get everything, it's like just so black and white for them, and they get messages. Me, I have to kind of just translate the message for myself.
Mm.
So that's a little different, but I don't always remember my dreams. Like I'm not somebody that has a lot of experience around dreams and doing readings and dreams and things like that. Like I do have experiences, but not a lot. So there are probably better people to answer that question, like dream
Okay.
interpreters and stuff like that. But I just go by, how I feel. But I hear so many cool stories with people who have all these really nice experiences with dreams,
Yeah.
and I think it's awesome.
That sounds interesting. I always
Yeah.
wanted to ask, do psychics and mediums, do you guys experience ESP, or do you guys experience deja vu like everyone else does?
Yes.
Does it mean
So
anything?
yeah, so those, oh, I just got a ringing in my ear just now.
Yeah, I heard that.
Sorry, that threw me off for a second. Maybe I'm answering the spirit's answering
Yeah.
the question. So that was like really strong. So we have our five senses, our sixth sense, and that those are all the ways that we communicate with spirit, and that spirit is able to communicate with us. So that's how we speak to them. Deja vu, there's a lot of different ideas of deja vu. I like to call it like a glitch in the system. So I feel like it's when our lives are kind of like walking parallel to like another life that we're having. Don't ask me to explain that because I can't. I
Okay,
don't
no
even know how
problem.
to, like, I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know how to put it into
Got you.
put it into words. But yeah, we connect with all of our with all our senses. Like I could see you, I could physically see you, and in our mind's eye, that's one of the ways like we can communicate with spirit. We could either feel like someone standing there, you could actually see someone that's standing there, you could hear something either physically or internally. Everyone receives the information a little differently. But yeah, the ESP, it's connected to mediumship. It's just using your senses a little differently in order to communicate. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Let me go back to you before because I know Mr. Producer, I don't have much time left, right? Okay. So let me go back on your journey. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover about this topic today? It's been very interesting.
Yeah, well, if you're a working medium or a practicing medium or a psychic, or you're trying to get in tune with your abilities, I would really recommend working on yourself personally, because that's the biggest thing. That's where I learned most of the stuff that I learned, and that's how I was able to kind of tell the story a little bit better when you're doing a reading. Like when you're doing a reading, like when you're first starting, you might say, "Oh, I see blue." Okay, and then you have to translate blue. Like, why am I seeing this? How is this happening? But when you're telling a story, you might see blue and say, you know what, I really feel like someone's kind of down, you're really like down in the dumps lately. And then you might feel like it has to do with the relationship. And you kind of could build the story based off of all your feeling and your knowing. And you kind of work with all your clairs, we call them, our ways of communicating. And you work with everything, and you kind of do that. But if there's something in your life that you're not facing yourself, then you're going to struggle to get that information out, because unconsciously you're not going to want to say it,
Hmm.
or you're not going to want to like look at it for yourself. Like for instance, if somebody was sexually abused and they haven't dealt with that part of them yet, and they see somebody who had the same instance, they might shut down and feel like they're not getting any information for that person, not knowing that they're tuning out such a big part of that person's life that they maybe came to talk about. So you kind of have to be an open book, and dealing with your own things will help you help other people, because we have our experiences, and I notice that you'll get a lot of people that are working on the same things as you. So spirit kind of like forces you
Uh-huh.
to do that.
And we attract like light attracts light.
Right.
So what you might be going through, I might come to you, and there's a reason for that, right?
Right, definitely.
Well, the other way around,
And
you know what I mean?
I understand what you mean. Yeah, no, and it's true. And like, we're always going to be here working on a lot of things. And it's funny because so I'm a Virgo. Okay, I was born in September. I'm a Virgo, so I still like to blame my nitpicking and perfectionism on that. But it's something I'm patiently working on with myself. And not that we should blame our astro signs on our flaws, because we really shouldn't. But anyone who follows that has at one point, like you're like if you're a Cancer,
I'm a Cancer.
then yeah, Cancers are generally very cautious, very temperamental and emotional. They generally have a very strong devotion to the people that they love the most.
Hmm.
And that devotion can also be unhealthy if they allow themselves to kind of spiral and make that person's problems theirs, like you take on somebody else's. And Cancers can also be very spiteful if they feel like they were wronged by somebody that they gave that trust to. So nobody get on Casey's bad side, because you'll see the claws come out. But but trusting yourself and not allowing other people's hardships to become yours is the biggest part of surrendering and listening, and feeling the directions that we need to go on. So if you're consuming everyone else's stuff, it's going to affect your energy. And letting go, like we talked about before,
Yeah, yeah.
letting go of the things that you have no control over is really important for your growth. Don't hold grudges. Like, find a way to either accept responsibility and move forward, or know that that responsibility is not yours and move forward.
Got it.
So that's really important.
Cool. So we're at the end here. Danielle Anatra, where do people get a hold of you? Talk about social media, talk about how who's the best candidate, what you got going on. You got the floor and the last word. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for everyone who wrote in.
Cool.
Danielle, you got the floor.
Cool. So you can find me, my best way is my website, danielleanatra.com. You could also email me. It's danielle@danielleanatra.com is my email. And I love working with everybody. Anybody who's, willing to do the work for themselves, and, just need a hand to kind of guide you through everything. Anyone who lost someone close to them, they need a reading or closure, guidance about something going on in your life. I feel like I would be great for that. So
And the website one more time.
DanielleAnatra.com.
Okay. Danielle, what a great show. Thank you again for everybody. Can't wait to hear what you have to. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.